Okay, so we are going to start looking at surface area of rectangular prisms. So you didn't have to wait for me to write all this stuff out. I'm just going to go over it with you. You can pause the video and write these things down. So surface area is the total area on the surface of a three-dimensional object, hence the whole surface and then area. It's basically the area of all of our faces. It will always be measured in units squared because whenever we're just dealing with area, it is always in units squared. So some examples of a time that you may need to find surface area would be like painting a room. So if you're, whatever room you're sitting in right now, you're basically sitting within a rectangular prism. And if you wanted to paint the walls in that room, you would basically be finding the lateral surface area of that. Wrapping a present, if you need to know how much paper you need to wrap something with, a lot of times graphic designers use it. Any boxes that you have like in your pantry, they've all had to have someone look at the amount of area that they have available to design with, and then they created that. So a rectangular prism is made up of the following faces. It has two bases, two rectangular, parallel, and congruent faces that are bases. They have four lateral faces that are rectangular, and they connect the two bases. The height of a rectangular prism, or H, is the distance between the two bases. Now, if you watched my video from yesterday, the conversation that I had discussing the bases of a rectangular prism. So if there's a contextual situation that they're giving you, for example, a Kleenex box, or if you're painting a room, there's context with that to be able to identify the bases. Otherwise, there really isn't a lot of contextual information to identify the bases unless they tell you. So in this case, like if I wanted to say that this was my base, then the opposite side would be also the base. So my height would connect my two bases. So this distance right here would be my height. Now, if I wanted to say that this was my base right here, and this was my base right here, then my height of my prism would be right there. If I wanted to say that this is my base and this is my base, my height would be this distance right there. And then lastly, if I wanted to identify this is my base and this is my base, then my height would be this distance right here. So if we want to go and discuss the two formulas, you have lateral surface area and you have total surface area. Lateral surface area is the faces, not bases. And if you recall back from my video from yesterday, big P is the perimeter of the base and H is the height of the prism. So if we want to look at that in our own words, we basically have to find the perimeter of the base, add all the sides up, and then multiply it by the height of the prism. If you notice, in total surface area, we add on this 2B. So we know that big B stands for area of the base. So if you notice that this doesn't have that 2B up here, that's because we aren't including our bases. So for total surface area, I do the same thing as my lateral surface area. I find the perimeter of the base and multiply it times the height. And then I also have to find the area of the base and multiply it by 2 because I have two bases. So basically you're finding the perimeter of the base and multiplying it by the height. You have to find the area of the base, multiply it by 2, and then add those two numbers together. So what makes the formula for total surface area different than the formula for lateral surface area is that total includes 2 big B, which is your two bases. And whenever we find lateral surface area, we aren't including our bases. When we're finding total surface area, we do include those bases. So the biggest thing on this is that you are going to highlight your base that you're going to be working with. That's one of the most important things, is identifying your base. And whenever we're looking at these where they don't give us contextual evidence of what our base is, we're just going to assume that the base is what it is sitting on. So when we're looking at this, this is my base down here that I just highlighted, and my base is in the shape of a square. Now, if I need to find the perimeter of my base, I'm going to draw my base again, because that is going to help you make sure that you are using the correct number. So if I draw my base, this is 5, this is 5, to find the perimeter of it, remember, if one side is, and obviously if this is a square, all the sides are going to be 5. To find my perimeter, I'm basically doing 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5, which gives me 20. So the perimeter of my base is 20 centimeters. Now my formula is S equals perimeter of the base times height. So my perimeter of my base is 20. And notice how I have this like T-chart set out. It's just exactly, you're doing the exact same kind of idea of when we did it with volume. But this is now helping you with surface area. Now notice that I use these 2 5s for my base, and I'm left with this 8 as my last number. So that means that that 8 has to be the height. So I'm going to have 20 times 8, and I'm going to have a surface area of 160 centimeters squared. Now, if I want to do total surface area, we've already highlighted the base up there. And if I go and redraw my base again, that is 5 by 5. My shape of my base again is a square. And I've already found the perimeter of this, but we're going to go back over this. So the perimeter would be to add up all the sides. So 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5. And remember, if we have a rectangle, it has 4 sides. So when you're finding perimeter, you should be adding 4 sides. Even though I only have 2 5s written down there, I know that this side's 5 and this side is also 5. To find my area, I have to do that base times height. So I'm basically doing 5 times 5. So my perimeter is still 20. My area is 25. So perimeter is 20, area is 25. Notice I need all of these things to be able to do my formula. This is my capital P and this is my big B. So if I can now go put those into my T-chart. I know my perimeter is 20. I know my big B is 25. Again, this is that extra number that I didn't use in regards to my base. So I know that this 8 is going to represent the height of my prism. Remember, this H right here is talking about the height of your prism, not the height of your rectangle, not the height of your base. Okay, so don't get that confused. It is the height of your prism. That's what that H stands for. So now I'm going to substitute the numbers in. So I have 20 times 8 plus 2 times 25. You can just type that right into your calculator and you should get 210 centimeters squared. Okay, so let's look at another problem. So again, I'm going to highlight my base just because that helps me see what numbers are associated with my base. So I know this 11 and 4 are dealing with my base, and I know this 3 is the height of my prism. So if I draw my base, that's not a very good one because it doesn't look anything like it. If I draw my base here, I have 11 and 4. So if I want to find the perimeter, I need, basically for my formula, I need to know the perimeter and I need to know the area. So if I go and find my perimeter, I'm just going to write big P for perimeter. I know this side's 11, this side's 4. So I'm going to have 11 plus 4 plus 4. So I get that my perimeter is 30. And to find my big B, I'm doing 11 times 4, which gives me 44. So now I'm going to go plug my numbers in that I need for each one. So for lateral, my perimeter of my base is 30. We just found that. My height of my prism is at 3. So this height of that prism is going to be 3. And I'm going to do 30 times 3, which gives me a lateral surface area of 90 inches squared. If I do total, I have a perimeter of 30, I have a height of 3 still, and I have a big B of 44. So I'm going to write those numbers in, 30 times 3 plus 2 times 44. So I get a surface area of 178 inches squared. So in reality, this is not as difficult as it may look like it is, but the importance is there are 3 things that you have to find. You have to find your big P, your perimeter of your base. You have to find your big B, your area of your base, and then you have to identify the height of your prism. The biggest thing is a lot of you are not going to want to do this step right here. And this step right here is one of the biggest steps that's going to save you, because that rectangle is where you get your big P and your big B from. And then you have this leftover number that isn't being used, and that is the height of your prism. So make sure that you are very careful about what numbers you put where. I'm going to do one more with you, and then you have your extra problems to practice. So my base here, I'm going to highlight that. So I end up with this rectangular base. That is so ugly. That is 13 by 10. So I am going to find my perimeter. So 10 plus 10 plus 13 plus 13. Remember, even though I only see 2 numbers written right there, I have 4 sides on a rectangle that I have to add up those sides. So my perimeter is going to be 46. To find my big B, I'm doing 13 times 10, which gives me 130. And then that leftover number that I'm not using is this 20. So I know the height of my prism is 20. That H is not asking for height of your base, it's height of your prism. So when I go to put my numbers into my formula over here, I have 46 and I have a height of 20. So my surface area is going to be 40, or my lateral surface area is going to be 46 times 20, which gives me a lateral surface area of 920 inches squared. Then I have 46 for my perimeter of my base, I have 20 for my height, and then I have 130 for my area of my base. So I have S is equal to 46 times 20 plus 2 times 130. Using this formula and this T-chart is going to save you so many errors. How I am showing you is the easiest way to do this. I've taught it many different ways, and this is the easiest way to find it. It's a little bit of extra work, but it makes sure that you don't miss any little parts. So I end up with a surface area of 1,180 inches squared. So this afternoon, I will have a Zoom session at 2:20. I will be going over the other 2 problems in that Zoom session. So make sure you hop on at 2:20 if you need some extra help. All right, have a good day.